Sergey Gribok is an FPGA IP architect in Intel Programmable Solutions Group, former Altera. Sergey received his PhD in discrete mathematics from Moscow State University in 2003. He joined Altera in 2014. He's working on FPGA IP design with focus on computer arithmetic and reconfigurable computing. He has 35 patents granted and 12 publications in ACM, IEEE journals and conference proceedings. Let's welcome Sergey.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction and for setting up the presentation. So our paper title is CSAIL2019 Crypto Puzzle Solver Architecture. However, in this talk, I have just 17 minutes to present our work, so I will not go into the details of the solver architecture. Instead, I will focus on explaining what CSAIL2019 puzzle is and why it is important to work on solving it. Then I will give an overview of our solver and the current results. And if after my presentation you are interested to know more about our solver architecture, I suggest you to read our paper. And if after reading the paper you want to know more, work on the CSAIL 2019 puzzle or see our partial solutions, that let me know. I will happy to share those with you. Also, if you would like to see the source code, send me an email. We are currently working with the lawyers to open source system. All right. So let's start from the basics. It might be unnecessary to explain who Ron Rivest is on this forum, but let me give a brief explanation just in case. Ron Rivest is a world-famous cryptographer and an institute professor at MIT. Dr. Rivest works in the computer science and artificial intelligence lab called CSAIL. All computer science students know Ron Rivest as an author of the famous book called Introduction to Algorithms. And all cryptographers know Ron Rivest as an inventor of RSA public key crypto system. In fact, he is the letter R in RSA, which stands for Rivest Shamir Edelman. He is also known as the author of RC ciphers, where RC stands for Rivest cipher or Ron's code. And what is very important for us today is that Ron Rivest is an inventor of so-called time lock puzzles. A time lock puzzle is a very interesting concept that guarantees that the encoded message will not be decoded until a certain amount of time has passed. So in a way, a time lock puzzle allows us to send a message to the future. A time lock puzzle is an example of so-called intrinsically sequential computations. The main idea of intrinsically sequential computations is that you cannot speed it up by adding more hardware running in parallel. You have to go through steps A, B, C from start to finish sequentially, and there is no way to skip a step or come to the finish line faster, even if you have an unlimited compute resources. Recently, intrinsically sequential computations are becoming more popular since they provide a way to build a resource-efficient proof-of-work mechanism for block chains. Since certain computations cannot be parallelized, there is no need to build massive GPU clusters to perform these computations. All you need is a single high-speed device. Now, let's define what a time lock puzzle is. The puzzle description is a triplet N, T, and C. N is a big semi-prime number, a product of two unknown primes, P and Q. T is the number of operations required. We can tune it to change the time required to solve the puzzle. And C is a constant, same size as N. The puzzle is to compute 2 to the power of 2 to the power of T modular N XOR C. The fastest known method to do it is to use simple repeated squarings.
we start from number 2 and keep squaring it modular n until we repeat it c times. The goal of solving the puzzle is to uncover a secret message. So how do we embed the secret message? First of all, the puzzle creator generates 2 prime factors, p and q. Based on p and q, the puzzle creator can compute 8c very quickly, in a matter of seconds, even for a very large n. Then the puzzle creator computes c as an n XOR 8c. Then the puzzle solver has to compute 8c using c repeat squarings, and then compute the secret message n as a c XOR 8c. Of course, there is another way to solve the puzzle, to factorize number n and to find the original factors p and q. However, the factorization will take much more time than the repeated squarings. Unless, of course, we build a quantum computer that would be able to factorize n using Shor's algorithm. However, I presented these slides to Intel Labs guys who work on quantum computers, and it doesn't seem likely that a quantum computer that's able to deal with numbers of this size is going to be ready in the near future. Here is a description of a so-called LCS35 time lock puzzle. LCS stands for Laboratory for Computer Science. This is where Ron Rivest worked in 1999. The puzzle was created for a special occasion, the 35th anniversary of LCS Lab. And so the puzzle was designed to take 35 years to solve. It was a big celebration and some famous people were invited. Here you can see Bill Gates putting some stuff into the time capsule. Then the time capsule was supposed to be opened in 35 years or once the puzzle is solved. The puzzle was solved in 2019, 10 years earlier than planned, by a Belgian computer programmer, Bernard Fabreau. He used his personal computer to do the computations, and it took him about 3 years and 3 months of uninterrupted computations to solve the puzzle. And just 1 month later, another solution was ready. It was based on an FPGA-based solver developed by a group of engineers called cryptographic. It took the FPGA solver just 2 months of computations to solve the puzzle. That demonstrates just how good FPGAs are for these types of programs. The secret message uncovered by Bernard Fabreau was "Happy Birthday LCS." This is it. Once the original puzzle was solved, Professor Rivest decided to publish a refreshed version of the puzzle. In 2003, the LCS lab was merged with the Artificial Intelligence Lab, and the new lab was named CSAIL, Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Lab. So the new puzzle was named CSAIL2019. This puzzle is much harder than the original. T is 1,000 times larger than before, and N is 3,072 bits now, which is 1.5 times more bits than before. It is expected to take 15 more years to solve the new puzzle, starting from 2019. The time capsule was resealed again, some extra stuff was added into the capsule, and it is scheduled to be opened in 2034, or once the new puzzle is solved. To make the solution quest more entertaining, Dr. Rivest also defines so-called milestone versions of the puzzle for smaller values of t. The first milestone corresponds to t equals 2 to the power of 28. Then every next milestone requires twice more computations than the previous one. Now let's talk about our work to develop a solver for this puzzle. We take the FPGA approach, since we know how good the cryptophage solver was at solving the original LCS35 puzzle. We built a solver based on a medium-sized Atrix FPGA. the solver performs just a single operation. It keeps squaring a number modulo m, but it does it very, very fast. There is a small news processor on the FPGA that is connected to JTAG, and that enables a way to connect the solver to a laptop and download the current results. Then on the laptop, we can run an error checker to make sure the computations go as expected. Now let's talk a little more about the importance of error detection. Think about a scenario where a computation goes for 10 years and there is an error on year 1. Then the next 9 years of computations will be useless. So it is very important to detect and fix errors early. Another important advantage of error detection is that we can run our accelerator using a clock frequency which is higher than the timing analyzer tells us it is going to support. And we rely on error detection to catch any errors due to overclocking. Now, how does the error detection work? Instead of performing calculations modulo m, we perform calculations modulo m times p, where p is a 32-bit prime that produces the longest possible cycle. Let me also briefly define what the longest possible cycle means. If we keep squaring a number, modulo p, then eventually we will see the same number the second time. Then a minimum number of squarings, modulo p, to get the same number is called a cycle produced by number p. Converting a value modulo m times p into a value modulo n is trivial. It simply requires taking the remainder modulo n of that value. On the other hand, to check the current result, we compare it with the expected value modulo p. Probability of an undetected error is less than 1 over 2 billion, where the 2 billion value is the cycle length for number p. Here are a little more details about the solver internal architecture. The biggest blocks are multiplication and modular reduction. Here they're shown on the right. Both of those modules are iterative and need 8 iterations to complete the operation. Here are more solver statistics. To build very, very fast modular multiplication blocks, we apply multiple optimizations that we discuss in details in the paper. Every multiplication operation takes only 19 clock cycles, and the solver is running using 350 MHz clock, which means that we have 3 times better performance if compared with the cryptophage solver used to solve the original puzzle. Now let's review the results. The solver was started in February 2022, almost 1 year ago. So far, 21 milestone solutions are calculated. The first 10 solutions were completed on the very first day, then 2 more solutions on the second day, and so on. Every next solution requires twice as many calculations as the previous one. The last solution for t equals 2 to the power 48 was calculated in August. The next one for t equals 2 to the power 49, it takes 6 months, and it will be ready very soon at the end of February, in around 10 days. And then the next solution for t equals 2 to the power 50 will need another year of computations with the current solver. Now it is clear that even though our solver is 3 times faster than cryptophage, it is still not fast enough to complete the full puzzle before the deadline. The only way to meet the deadline is to move the solver to faster and larger FPGAs and improve the algorithm, which we'll try to do. All the results were reported to Professor Rivest. I have an ongoing email conversation with Professor Rivest and Professor Daniel Ras, who is the head of CSAIL. I sent them the milestone solutions that we found and explained our method. And it appears that we were the first to report the milestone solutions. Then I got this wonderful reply that deserves to be printed out and put on a wall. Ron Rivest seems to like our approach. All right, and that concludes my presentation. On the final slide, you can see the FPGA board setup. Here is the board connected to my laptop, so I can program the FPGA, start the solver, and download the current results. You can also see introduction to algorithms book in the background. So thank you very much for your attention.
Hello? Okay. It's a very interesting work. So I'm wondering, like, if you have any statistics on the error, like error rate, like under the overclocking, like any statistics about that?
So, the Quartus reported Fmax for this design was 326 megahertz. So we are overclocking it to 350. We tried to do it like on a high frequency, 360. Mm-hmm. It started getting errors, and if there are errors, we cannot continue basically. So we are going down to the speed where there is no errors, which is 350, which is still good, much better than the reported efforts.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Sergey. Do you know where you're going to target to improve your algorithm particularly? And do you know what, you talked about 19 cycles for each iteration. In this instance, you know what sort of iteration or number of cycles you need to get it down to in order to make this achievable in a reasonable time frame?
So what's the question?
So do you know what you would go from 19 down to how many cycles can you get it down to actually achieve this in a reasonable time frame, and which parts of the algorithm would you go after to try and get that down?
So the question is like how to improve it even more. Is that, well, of course the 19 clock cycles, this is the result of the iterative nature of the algorithm. And we have to use iterative algorithms because we are limited in the size of the FPGA. So if we use a bigger device, then we can design a solver that would use less iterations. So by moving to a bigger FPGA, up to a certain point, we can design much faster algorithms. So basically twice, if we increase the device size twice, we would be able to improve probably the speed by like 20 to 25%.
Another question? Okay. Matt, do you have?
Maybe I'm loud enough.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Are there errors others to you people are detected any errors before posting something else?
The question is, did we have any errors? Yeah, of course. First of all, like the initial process of tuning the clock speed, right? This is, of course, where we look at the errors, and if we have the errors, we're going down. Now, actually, during the initial runs, we did have errors. Like once, initially we set like the solver to 370 megahertz, and it was working fine for a while. Then at some point it started getting errors, so we had to go below. Yeah, so the error checker is very, very useful. Without it, we would be like.
So how deep is your rollback? From the error?
How deep is what?
You can put some kind of rollback.
Yeah, yes. So basically, every like once in a while, usually I have like weekly routine by downloading the current state of the solver, and if there are errors, then I would have to go to the previous state.
And the last question: do you have a backup power source?
No, and once we have power and outage. Yeah, so I lost a couple of days because of that during the weekend.
Thank you, Sergey. Thank you, Niels, for the great questions. Our third talk